Tell the class who you are and discuss your background.
All right. Well, my name is Megan. I am a musician. I guess that would be my title. Um, I mainly play music on Twitch. Is my main like outreach right now, social media wise. But I also play live a lot all throughout the world. Most recently, I played a show in London, and I'm playing next week in California, actually.
Really cool. All right. What have been your greatest accomplishments as an artist?
My greatest accomplishments. I would say probably. I mean, playing in London was a pretty amazing thing to be able to say that I'm an international musician. That was pretty amazing. Also, most recently, I was invited to play a show at TwitchCon, which was pretty cool. That the platform that I make a living on, like,
Mm-hmm.
actively went out and said, "Hey, we want to hire you to play at our convention." That was a pretty amazing thing. Otherwise, just in general, being able to to share my music with people and hearing how that affects them and what they do. That's more than any of the, like, objective kind of accomplishments that I've had. Just the fact that people have said how much my music has helped them through things. That's probably the biggest one, honestly.
All right. How did you get to where you are now? Like, describe your artistic journey.
I guess it was a lot of hard work, a lot of practice is the vague answer. Um, I guess the easiest way to describe kind of what I've done to get to where I am is, there's a Jim Carrey quote. There's a speech that he does. It's a commencement speech. If you ever want to watch, like, one of the most inspiring like speeches in your life, just look up Jim Carrey commencement speech and watch the entire thing. But he talks about it where he says it's okay to ask the universe for things, and it's all right to ask the universe for something and work towards that, and the universe will give it to you. And I guess that's probably the easiest way to say what I've done. I've been playing my entire life. There really isn't a moment in my life that I can think of where I wasn't working towards becoming a musician and becoming successful at it. And because of that, it's not like there was a set out, like, I got into voice lessons and then I took guitar lessons and then I did this and then I did this. It was just a lot of, okay, I'm a musician. What do I do? I go out and play live. All right, who do I need to get in contact with? Well, I need to get into contact with somebody that can help me play live more, can record a CD, and can do all of these things. And it was just a lot of, um, working as hard as I can and talking to people and becoming friends with people, and just asking the universe for something, I guess.
Okay. Any obstacles you ran into?
Oh, of course. There's every day. I don't think. I mean, there's a different obstacle literally every day that I've had to do. I've heard a billion no's before I ever hear a yes. The amount of times that I've had to figure out a new way around something.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, and that's just not, that doesn't even, this is just like music wise. You hear a billion different times, you don't get signed with that agent, or you don't get that booking agent, or you don't, you're not selected for something, or you don't get the part in a play, or a billion different things. I guess the main example was, or one of the first examples I would have is probably, um, when I was, I think, a freshman in high school. I started working with a producer for music, and he was kind of my first, like, in the music industry, somebody that was, like, on a professional level, like, hey, I want to help you become a musician.
Mm-hmm.
And when that ended up falling through to where it was kind of, he gave me an ultimatum, essentially, of saying, hey, you either quit school and stop being a teenager and just work on music 24/7, or you continue to go to school, you continue to be a kid, you can continue to be in theater or whatever else, but we're not going to work together anymore. And and because of that, I really had to sit down and think, what is important for me.
Mhm.
And I ended up knowing that having a childhood of sorts is such an important thing for people's well-being.
Yeah.
And having to think about, like, okay, this was my in, and now I can't work with him anymore. This isn't going to happen. That probably would have been the first big thing. But I don't think I really look at as things like that as failures or like obstacles, because it's just another thing that happens. There's always
Mhm.
another way. There's always another thing you can do to get where you want to be. You just have to find it.
Okay. Where do you see yourself 5 years from now with your career?
5 years from now, I don't know. These questions are always so weird because every time, like, if I were to ask myself 5 years ago if I would
Mhm.
be here, I never in a million years would have thought I'd be making a living off of playing music on the internet. Like,
Yeah.
that would be the last thing that I said. And so questions like this are always such a weird thing to try and predict, because it's like life has never gone the way that I assumed it would be.
Mhm.
But in 5 years, I would love to have two, my second or third, or for sure a full length album, if not two full length albums out, um, as well as I would like to be going on tour consistently. Right now, it's just a lot of like fly-in single kind of dates, but I
Mhm.
would like to have like consistent road tours where I'm out playing shows on, for a couple months at a time and coming back home.
Okay. What are your goals as an artist?
My goals as an artist are, I want to be the person that I looked up to when I was getting into the music industry, or when I fell in love with music. I want to be that person for somebody that's growing up. I want to be somebody that they look up to and say, that is who I want to be when I grow up. I want to be somebody that impacts the world in a in a way that only music can, because
Mhm.
music can do so much. It's such a powerful thing. And that's that's who I want to be as a musician. Is I want to be that person that 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, people say, wow, Megan did a whole bunch of stuff that's really amazing.
And what is your definition of art?
Oh, my definition of art. Art is something that makes you feel a way that nothing else can.
Okay. Do you have any creative strategies or some sort of creative routine you have?
Um, Routine wise, I'm just always working. I guess it's kind of been drilled into my head that if you're not doing it, somebody else is. If you're
Mhm.
not putting the work in, that other person that you're competing against is. That other person that you're trying to beat out to be where you want to be is. So I guess it's now kind of just stitched into who I am, that I just always do things. I always want to be better. I always try and fix something. I consistently will like watch streams that I have. Like, I'll go watch the recorded versions of those back, and I'll look at, and I'll critique myself. It'll be, what do I need to change with my audio? What do I need to change with my visual setup? What do I, should I add new songs? Do I need to talk to the people that are watching more? What do I need to adjust? And I'm consistently critiquing myself, and constantly changing things to try and be better. um, it's just always working to be the best.
What does success means to you?
Success, I guess, it changes. That's another one of those questions that, I specifically remember having a conversation with my mom, maybe probably about 5 years ago, and she asked me, Megan, what do you think when you say, successful musician? What do you mean by successful musician? What is that? And um, it and it changes all the time. And for me, success is doing something until I feel justified or proud about it until I feel like I've done enough. That is what my idea of success is. And I guess if if my idea of what I've done, if that changes, if that becomes lesser, 2 years from now, then that's what it is. But right now, it's just working until I feel like I've accomplished, like until I feel right,
Mm-hmm.
until it's I've done everything.
Okay. Do you have any advice for young artists?
Yeah, just keep doing it. You're gonna hear there's you'll hear a billion no's, and I'm not kidding you, a billion no's before you hear one yes. And I'm sure you hear that from, if you watch any sort of inspirational video by anybody, everyone says you're going to hear a million no's before you hear a yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so true that they're all that it takes to be successful at whatever you want to achieve in your life is to understand that failing isn't failure. It's not a negative thing.
Mm-hmm.
Failing is something that everybody experiences. And when you're able to turn your outlook of failure from, oh, I failed, I can't do this anymore, to, oh, I failed at this thing, but that's not failing, that's just a lesson I need to learn and I need to do it differently. And you do it again, and you continue to do it again, and over and over and over again, until eventually something will happen that you want to happen. All it takes is realizing that failure isn't, it's not what it is. I would also say, to somebody that is aspiring to be, a musician or an artist or successful at anything, I would say, if don't have a plan B, uh, because plan B's allow you to have a doubt that you're
Mm-hmm.
not going to succeed. The minute that you sit down and say, okay, this is my plan B. I'll be a teacher if music doesn't work out. That's allowing yourself to fail at it, and that's allowing yourself to do that thing. Where if you never have a plan B, if you never come up with your reason of what you're going to do if you fail, there's no option of failure. It's just always, this is what I'm going to do, and there's no other option. And it might take a really long time, and it's going to take a really long time,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be very painstaking, and you're going to have a lot of heartbreaks, and you're going to have a lot of successes. But allowing yourself to consistently work towards something, and never having a doubt in your mind, but knowing this is what you're supposed to do, will get you a very, very long way.
That was really interesting. I never heard
Mhm.
anybody says don't have a plan B when I heard everybody telling me you should
Mhm.
have a plan B just in case, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. No, there's no such thing as just in cases. I think the first time I heard somebody tell me about not having a plan B was actually a producer that I worked with. That same one that I worked with my freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
and he talked to me about. I want to say it was like Will Smith, maybe, or there's an actor that he originally heard it from, that talked about how he never had a plan B, because the minute you have a plan B, you allow yourself to fail. You allow yourself to do something else. And um, there's after hearing that, I see that from so many musicians that I look up from. They have that same sort of, somewhere in some interview they talk about that same thing of, I
Mm-hmm.
never had a plan B. I don't allow people to tell me that, being a musician is too far fetched. It's too big of a dream to have. I never allowed somebody to tell me that. I just kept doing it.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
Do you have your own album or any kind of your own original work?
Yes, I do. I have my EP is on. It's on Spotify, iTunes, all of the places. It's called Just a Little. If anybody wants to, if you want to listen to it. But yes, I do have that.
What would you say to the people that want to start off but don't have any access to fancy equipment?
You don't need fancy equipment. I think that there's plenty and plenty of musicians that started off with nothing. They started off with a $15 guitar that they bought at a garage sale, or they didn't even have that. They were just a singer and they met somebody that had a guitar. They became friends with somebody. I don't. I think it took me a very, very, very long time to get to a place where I am with the equipment that I have.
Hmm.
And it's really easy to fall into a hole of of watching other people's things and saying, oh, they have all of this fancy stuff and that's why I can't sound this good. But I've heard some of the best albums by solo musicians that were done on their MacBook Pro with, maybe a nice set of headphones, but even so you can do so much with what you have, and being able to master the little things and mastering something that is not of like studio quality, or mastering something that's just very subpar, is just going to make you so much better of a musician when you're able to afford the things, or you're able to have the things that are of higher quality. You're going to be able to, it's just going to be a piece of cake when you get to something that's better, because you know how to get the best sounds of something that isn't.
Okay, one last question.
Mhm.
What do you hope your listeners can take away from your music?
I hope that it will, honestly, just them it affecting them in some way is more than anything. I don't make music to because I want to be a famous a celebrity of some sort. I don't make music because I want to be rich, or have really nice things or whatever else. I make music because I for me music is the only thing that can help me through bad days. It's the only thing that can help me, make a good day even better. It's there's so much that does that, and so I would want I the only thing I would ask for, what I would hope people to have when they're listening to my music, is that same thing. Is being able to listen to a song that I wrote and being able to connect with it in a way that I would never be able to connect with the song in a completely different manner,
Hmm.
and being able to if one of my songs helps somebody in a bad day, or helps them, or elevates their great day, that's all that I would hope for.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, Megan.
Thank you.
Yep.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Take care.
Bye bye.
Bye.